Madam.
Okay, all right. So for today, we'll continue our commercial banking topic, and later after we finish everything, we'll proceed with Islamic banking presentation. But please make it short, and maximum is 5 minutes for each group because you have to go through the definition and also the examples only. So that would be that can be very short, and because what we have last Tuesday with the other group, memang very short je lah sebab very simple explanation. Okay, so we'll continue with commercial banking. Ada sikit lagi. So last week we have gone through the first part of commercial banking, which are the sources and uses of funds, and the liability, the assets of commercial banking, and then the risk that they have to face, as well as a bit on the banking products and also services. Okay. So we'll continue with table ni saya ada go through sikit je hari tu. So we'll look at this one. Right. Okay, so for as of last week, we already discussed about the deposits. So I explained to you about the savings, which is actually the easiest way to open up a bank account is through savings account, and it is actually targeted to small depositors, and sometimes it can be, most of the time, it's also a salary account for salary individual. And we can have a current account for individual as well, which is when you have the opportunity or you have the advantage to get an overdraft facility from the bank. We can have a fixed deposit account, or for Islamic bank, it is called investment account. And we have NICD, negotiable instrument, and also a form of investment account as well, FRIA. And we also talk about the loan and also the financing. So I've explained to you the hire purchase, the home loan, personal loan, and also the term loan. So next would be trade finance. Okay, these are all actually have been discussed in our money market topic. Kita dah belajar sikit on letter of credit, on bankers acceptance. This is actually for trading, for corporate customers. And we also have banks also provide card services, and we're going to look at the different types of cards later. Okay. And then money market, okay, it's a combination lah. Ini pun kita dah tengok, kita ada BNM bills, commercial papers, NID, interbank borrowing, and also repos. Okay, this also have been discussed before. And what I have here is the classification of the banks, which are conventional and also Islamic. And for your assignments, all of you have to choose a conventional bank, because Islamic bank ni dia ada different Islamic contracts. But for today's discussion, nanti kita ada juga a very short topic on Islamic banking and also the Islamic contract. This is just to introduce to you that when we talk about banks, we have conventional and also Islamic, and there is a difference in terms of their contract. For example, for conventional bank, for the loan, kita kata loan lah, we call it as a loan. But for Islamic banking, same thing, same concept, but it is called financing. So dia tak ada konsep loan ni kira you borrow kan, borrow and lending money lah. But for Islamic, yang under Islamic concept, dia tak ada konsep pinjam duit ni. Dia punya konsep pembiayaan, dia tolong beli, dan kita bayar balik dekat dia. Dia tolong membuat financing, pembiayaan. So they don't use the word loan for Islamic banks. So that's basically some of the difference lah. Nanti later kita akan tengok lah. Basically the main difference is that untuk Islamic bank ni, the Islamic contracts and the transaction, semua dia kena ikut syariah principles. Alright, so first of all, we're going to look at electronic banking or e-banking. Okay, and it is also, I don't think I have to explain very detailed, because everybody, I hope, have experience using, especially for example, ATM, semua ada kad kan. So, so these are the examples of electronic banking. So when we talk about e-banking, we are talking about 4 parties, consumer, which is you and me, so we are the consumer, corporate customers, okay, the products, the different types of products that bank offer, and also the interbank. So this is to the customer, to the corporate customer, again the customer, and this is the type of products, and this is actually the transactions between bank. So interbank. So interbank transfer. We want to know macam contoh kita buka bank to you, you nak transfer duit to your landlord, nak bayar sewa rumah, guna bank transfer. That is the interbank. So we want to know how does that transaction works. So we're going to look at that later. Alright, so first of all, when we talk about electronic banking or e-banking, we're talking about both internet banking, okay, whereby we can use our laptop, our mobile phone, and also the ATM, okay, the machine, whereby we can do a lot of transactions using the ATM. Okay, the advantages. Right, again, so this is actually quite logic, and for you to be able to explain each of the advantage of internet banking ni. Kalau kita tengok internet banking, first of all, is fast and convenient. Of course, very easy. You have the internet, you can do a lot of things. And then flexible. Okay, you don't have to wait for the bank opening hours, tak payah tunggu pukul 10. And then you can do even at night, kan? Dia tak ada very flexible because it doesn't have to be during office hour. It can be done anytime. And then hassle-free payment. Okay, so very easy. You can pay your mobile phone. Boleh bayar cukai tu, cukai ni. Boleh bayar macam-macam lah. Bayar duit kereta, duit pinjam rumah, bayar duit PTPTN, semua boleh. Bayar duit to whatever your loans yang boleh we can pay to the third party easily. So hassle free. You don't have to go to that place. You just click je, settle, boleh bayar. And then online cards, of course, kita ada card yang can be done online. Kan boleh buat credit card application juga using the internet banking. Boleh apply for cards, boleh beli shares. Termasuk share transaction. It can be done using the internet banking. Okay, and we can also check the share price and do the share transactions using internet banking. We can look at the movement of price. Saya pernah tunjuk hari tu kan, kita ada the trading view apa semua tu. Okay, that is considered as internet banking. Okay, because they tap with the bank account that you have. Disadvantages, okay, tadi kita bulan bintang je, ada juga disadvantages, especially number one, some people, they are afraid to use this internet banking because of lack of security. Okay, sometimes you go to public places, they have public Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. It is not advisable for you to do your banking transactions using public Wi-Fi yang tak ada password tu, lack of security. So hackers can get your information, can destroy all the vital information. You nak masuk bank tu you tak boleh, so lack of security. Service not sufficient, or for sure when we have internet banking, tak semua transaction boleh buat. You can transfer money but you cannot withdraw money, you cannot get the cash kan. Boleh transfer je. And then sometimes you have problems or issues that you want to talk to someone. So internet banking tak boleh cakap dengan orang lah, you kena tanya je kan, contact us. Itu pun kadang-kadang dia bagi tahu your email will be dia kata we will reply to you within how many hours or within 3 working days katakan. So service dia not sufficient. So if you need something that is face-to-face dealing, so nak tanya soalan banyak, so you cannot use internet banking. Especially when we talk about problems lah ataupun questions kan, so you need to see physically orang tu nak tanya soalan. Interruption of service, so we all know kita perlukan power supply, perlukan electricity, kita perlukan internet untuk buat internet banking. So kalau tak ada service tu, then we cannot do the transactions. And of course, legal and physical infrastructure. This is more towards the bank side lah. Okay, not our side, the bank side. So some banks, they ada infrastructure, some banks, they cannot afford to do all this infrastructure to protect the server. Sebab kita nampak macam simple kan, okay, alamak kenapa bank tu tak boleh pakai hari ni, but we do not know dekat bank side tu, kita kata the security, the privacy issue betul macam-macam dia kena buat to make sure that kita punya data tak leak. And to address this issue, so bank side dia kena ada the legal and infrastructure part ni. So that's basically the disadvantages of internet banking. Alright, so ini again, these are the parties, consumers, corporate, and also interbank, and the types of product that they offer. So to the consumers, you and me, kita ada ATM, alright. What we can do with the ATM are a lot of transactions. We can withdraw money, we can deposit cash, we can transfer funds, we can check the balance. Nah, saman PDRM pun boleh buat lagi kan. Ada saman check lah sampai 31 Disember boleh bayar 80% discount. You can pay bills using the ATM. This is just an introduction lah, nak tunjuk Barclays Bank kat London ni, dia start ada ATM in 1967, long time ago. And di Malaysia kita ada HSBC first one, launch first ATM in 1982. And other banks follow through lah. Okay. So main function of ATM ini pun tak payah nak cerita panjang kan, because you all know, you pergi dekat ATM tu tengok apa benda function yang ada cash withdrawal, inquiry account balance, deposit cash or check. Ada CDM ATM and also CDM lah, cash deposit machine. You can request statement, you can request checkbooks, you can purchase shares dekat situ. Top up tak cenggu pun boleh kan. Advantages, of course, convenience. So when we talk about e-banking, we're talking about convenience. Cost savings, you don't have to travel far. Ada ATM je macam-macam boleh buat, tak payah pergi sana sini untuk buat payment, or especially to pay to the third party. International access. So if your card, dia ada maps ni, you pergi travel mana-mana pun in the world ni, kalau the ATM yang you pergi dekat tempat tu ada logo maps ni, you can withdraw your money from Malaysian bank account. Bawa lah bank card tu, pergi jalan-jalan New Zealand contohnya, you go to it, alamak tak cukup duit kan. Tapi dalam duit bank Malaysia ada, duit yang dah ditukar ke New Zealand dollar tu tak ada. So you go to ATM yang ada logo maps ni, you can withdraw duit Malaysian. I mean from Malaysian account, dia akan keluar duit New Zealand lah. Based on the rate yang you ada kan. Jangan overdrawn dah lah kan, tak cukup duit dalam account ni. So shared resources, which means it can be used internationally. Okay. Disadvantages, okay, eliminate the disbursement of float. Phantom withdrawal, orang ambil card, sebelum ni kan ada cerita kena pukau lah apalah kan, bawa you pergi ATM, so dia boleh pukau buat something so that you can withdraw the money using your own account. Dia kita nak report pun kita sendiri yang buat, you are orang yang withdraw the money kan, tapi disebabkan oleh pengaruh orang lain, so you go and withdraw. Fraud card, okay, card ada orang clone lah apalah, system errors, pergi tak ada duit ni, pergi ambil tu, okay, out of service, bengang kan. And also crime, pun banyak juga kita dengar cases whereby robbers go break the banks and try to crack the ATM, the machine to get the cash inside. Tapi very hard to do it because of the security tu. Alright, tadi internet banking, and then we have ATM. Next one is telephone banking. I'm not sure how close you are with the telephone banking because sometimes macam sekarang I'm sure most of you tak suka cakap dengan orang kan, you even nak call kawan pun you text, you don't call anymore. Just so traditional nak call kan, biasanya what you want is you just simply text to whatever you need, you just simply text the bank punya website or dia punya number or dia punya Facebook page kan. So telephone banking ni function dia sama long before we have internet banking, banks offer telephone banking. Which means if you have any issue, any problem, especially on the retail business between bank and the customer, we can call. Okay, so what involve telephone banking is dia ada voice response lah. So kita cakap dengan mesin kan, so kita call, okay, tak dapat cakap pun kena dengan mesin dulu cakap so itu biasalah kita ada voice response dia panggil. And then because of that, for phone banking ni ada voice recognition juga. Sometimes the system can recognize the voice of the caller, so dia pakai AVR, automated voice response technology lah. Tekan-tekan number, please press 1 for whatever, press 2 for whatever kan. So itu ialah voice response. Programmable telephone pun boleh juga. So sometimes ada earlier program in the phone so programmable telephone, okay, through the phone banking ni. Sometimes kita ada number 1-800 tu kan. Okay, so 1-800 something tu. So when you call, you cakap dengan mesin lah dulu. Sampai last sekali kalau nak cakap dengan orang ada tekan satu number kosong ke kan. Dia dah cerita whatever your problem. Kalau tak ada juga kita nak cakap dengan orang, then you press 0 but you have to wait. Lama kena tunggu kan. Habis-habis tunggu lama dia jawab, our line is busy, please call again later. Memang bengang Okay, the service provided by the telephone banking, account inquiry, okay, pay bills, boleh pay bills, boleh manage funds, boleh message services, boleh monitor the usage, boleh fund transfer, sama function macam ATM. You tekan-tekan je nak bayar, macam semua benda boleh buat kan daripada function number 1 sampai number 8 kadang-kadang banyak option dia kan, sampailah ke 0 nak cakap dengan orang. So, loan payment, credit card related service, nak report lost card semua boleh call. Yang tak boleh buat through telephone banking is nak keluarkan cash je. You boleh cakap-cakap dengan orang je, you cannot get the cash. You want the cash, you want to withdraw your cash, you have to go to ATM, not using the telephone banking service. Recent development, we have mobile banking. Still, it is related to internet banking because mobile banking kita pakai phone lah. So dalam phone kita sekarang ada macam-macam apps kan. The whatever banks that you use, just install, download the apps. Semua boleh buat dekat apps tu. And then even payment, contoh Touch 'n Go e-wallet, dia akan link to your account kan. So whatever payment you want to make, so you bayar guna your phone. Macam banyak lah kalau macam saya pakai Maybank ada QR Pay. So semua tolak daripada situ je. Right? So that is mobile banking. So you nak buat share transactions ke apa, semua boleh buat through mobile. So that is the recent development lah. Kalau tak dulu internet banking tu dah canggih habis dah kan. So now especially during the pandemic dah 2 tahun ni kan, mobile banking sangat, the usage ni sangat high lah. People prefer to use their phone rather than go to bank. Even bank pun you nak buat physical ataupun face-to-face transaction pun you have to make an appointment. Tak boleh simply walk in macam dulu-dulu dah. Alright, next one, if EFTPOS, electronic fund transfer point of sales. Ini bila kita beli barang. Ini tadi all the transaction yang saya explain tadi is actually between us and bank for all these kind of services. But when you buy something, kita beli something, kita gunakan sistem yang dipanggil sebagai EFTPOS, fund transfer point of sales. So bila kita bayar, you can just bayar dekat situ lah. So mainly used with debit cards. So customer account is debited electronically, or kita boleh pakai credit card juga. So advantage to customer, convenient and speed. You don't have to carry a lot of cash when you go shopping. Advantage to business and retailer, immediate transfer of funds. Tak payah tunggu 2-3 hari terus masuk je duit tu. No risk of bounce transactions. Okay, kalau macam pakai credit card, sometimes tu bounce kalau ada hutang tak bayar ke apa. Lower handling cost and theft of cash reduce. So for the customer, kita rasa convenient. For the business pun, they don't have to maintain a lot of cash. Dia tak perlu simpan banyak cash because of this EFTPOS ni. Disadvantage again when we talk about this electronic banking ni, the first ataupun the most important issue is actually on the security, security of that transaction. Fraudulent transactions. And these are actually borne by the customer until the card is reported lost or stolen. Ni katakan kita tak sedar pun kad kita dah hilang, orang dah guna kad kita beli macam-macam dah ribu-ribu, we don't know. Until kita sedar tengok dalam account, duit tak ada, then only you report the lost or stolen. So the kita kata the responsibility of the card is on the customer until you report the card is lost or stolen. And some cards they have the signature. And for retailers, the cost of implementation is high. That's why tak semua tempat boleh ambil kad. Some tu they prefer bank transfer ataupun cash lagi because of this the cost of implementation. The infrastructure, the infrastructure ni tak semua retailer ada. You pergi kedai kecil-kecil biasanya kena bayar cash kan, dia tak ada kad. Alright, for corporate, they have EDI, electronic data interchange. Okay, this is about the transmission of data, electronic bridge between banks and customers, providing detailed trading data, payment information. Okay, boleh ada invoice and everything, the purchase order semua. Boleh gunakan EDI ni, electronic data interchange. So it is a system to respond to customer demand. Alright, advantage of EDI ni sebab dia pakai sistem kan, so cost can be reduced, quality can be increased, and time is saved with efficient and faster when transferring information. So again, it is convenient. So basically, if you go through the points, advantages and disadvantages of e-banking ni agak lebih kurang sama je lah. And this is for importer and exporter. Again, the use of EDI ni, it's a system je lah. So what I can tell you is that it's a system yang memudahkan lah the banks and also the customer, especially the corporate customer, importer and also exporter. Okay, interbank. Kita dah tengok between bank and customer, between bank and corporate customer dengan company, and now kita tengok interbank, bank and bank. Okay. Kita ada dua, we have rentas, the short form for real-time electronic transfer of funds and securities. Short form dia rentas. and also SWIFT. So rentas for local lah, local transaction, SWIFT untuk worldwide and international. Okay, local kita ada rentas, international kita ada SWIFT. So rentasnya pun dah lama daripada 1999 dulu dah ada. Okay, ini old system, saya skip je lah. Next time I should, I think remove the slide je tak ada kaitan dengan kita lah, because dulu nama dia SWIFT Tapi because of the volume of the transaction, the old system ni tak boleh nak cater dah to the transfer. So they create ataupun they upgrade the system jadi rentas. So it is actually for large value interbank transfer, funds transfer and securities. So kita ada belajar sebelum ni money market kan, some banks when during the day tu akan ada surplus and also deficit of funds. So banks ni dia ada pergerakan lah, ada interbank funds transfer. So the system that they use to transfer the funds between banks is actually using this rentas. Using real time, so therefore can control risk. So the transfers are settled individually without netting the amount against the credit. Without netting debits against credit. Which means katakanlah from transfer from Maybank to CIMB. Okay, pukul 9 ada transfer 10,000 Maybank pergi CIMB. Okay. Pukul 10 transfer pula balik daripada CIMB pergi ke Maybank 12,000. So nampak tak? Dia kata dia settle individually. 10 pergi sana, 12 pergi sini. Dia tak adalah offset pula. Okay, 10 dengan 12, so bezanya 2,000. So 2,000 tu duduk dekat sini. Because you nampak tak? Duit masuk sana dan dia hantar balik kan. So tapi using these rentas ni, the transfers are settled individually. So satu-satu transaction dia settle. So end of the day, intraday finality ni, so end of the day, the payee banks able to receive funds with certainty. So end of the day, adalah total transaction dia akan adalah surplus ataupun deficit. But the transfers are actually settled individually. Alright, ini for local rentas. For interbank, when you want to transfer money to, especially when we talk about our foreign worker, they want to transfer money to Bangladesh, to Indonesia, and to other parts of the world. So they need this SWIFT, Society for Worldwide International Financial, Interbank Financial Transfer. Okay. So what this system do, dia sama je lah macam rentas tadi. It's just that ini ialah transfer between bank to another country. So what bank has to do is that they have to register with this SWIFT ni. Semua bank ni kena register dengan SWIFT ni. They have to be a member of this society ni. So nama pun society kan. They have to be the member of this society. And they will be given a SWIFT code. We call it SWIFT code. Let's say you nak transfer duit to Singapore, to Bangladesh, to London mana. So you need to have a SWIFT code of the bank. So setiap bank tu dia akan ada SWIFT code sendiri. So bila kita isi form, kita just key in the SWIFT code je. So bila dia tekan SWIFT code, dia terus masuklah bank apa. So in order to be able to transmit between users international payment statement. So nak transfer duit, nak pergi mana-mana. So you use the system. Ini kita tak nampak, you don't know. You just go to the bank and say, okay, nak transfer duit pergi Indonesia. So dia suruh isi borang apa semua dia buatkan. So you know that is a bank transfer from Maybank Malaysia pergi ke bank, any bank in Indonesia contohnya. But the system behind tu, the transferring process tu menggunakan this SWIFT ni. Okay. Any questions tak so far? Tak ada kot okay je kan? Because you can read ni semua macam benda yang you dah biasa tengok lah dah biasa, or mungkin tak biasa buat, but you know about e-banking ni. Alright, next one is about products. Okay. Especially the cards lah. We're talking about the card services provided by the banks. Smart cards, debit cards, single transaction debit, and also monthly debit. Alright, first one is debit card. So debit card is your ATM card yang biasa ni lah. When you want to pay using your using the debit card function, you can key in the account number saja. Okay, the account number on your card tu, number on your card, so that will be debited from your account. So advantages of debit card, Okay, to business, kita pergi bayar, beli barang, bayar guna debit card. So immediate transfer of funds. No risk that transaction will bounce sebab dalam untuk debit card you have to have some money in the account. Kalau tak boleh pakai lah debit card tu sebab dia bukan credit card. Dia kena ada duit kat dulu, so dia tolak daripada duit situ je bila you buat payment, debit. Photos on debit cards to prevent fraud, cost of handling reduce and also theft of cash. So again, when kita guna debit card ni, so the company tak perlu maintain a lot of cash. The kedai or whatever retailer tak perlu maintain a lot of cash. Itu to business, to banks, cheaper and quicker to process than checks. Okay, kalau tak dulu-dulu tak ada debit card, ada check. So dia kena process satu-satu one by one, takes time, 3 days macam tu. To customer, of course, easier and quicker than to write checks and detail including payee's name. Dalam statement memang kita boleh tengok lah you bayar dekat siapa kan. And tapi sometimes there's some cards not online ataupun not real time. So bila kita bayar dia tak automatically tolak lagi, dia tolak later. End of the day baru dia tolak ataupun sehari dua ataupun besok baru dia tolak. So some not all, some are not real time. Disadvantages, okay, again sama juga macam yang kita tengok sebelum tadi for internet banking. Security. Until reported loss, any fraudulent transaction is borne by the customer. Kalau you tak sedar kad hilang, tak sedar account duit makin berkurang, sampailah the moment you sedar, so whatever happens dalam tempoh yang kita tak tahu tu will be borne by the customer. Ataupun ada fraudulent transaction guna nama kita kan, we don't know. Oh, that's not me. So baru kita boleh report kad tu dah kena curi or hilang or macam-macam lah. So that is the security reason. Higher risk as the signature appears on the reverse of the card, the sign but now the way they reduce the risk is by using PIN number and also wave kan. So tak ada signature, so orang tak boleh forge lah. Kalau you pakai PIN, you seorang je tahu the PIN kan. Kalau signature orang boleh forge. Credit card, that is the opposite of debit card. Okay, so yang ni tadi kalau debit card dia tolak daripada account whatever duit yang kita ada dalam tu, we can guna that using the debit card function. Credit card, you are given a limit on the amount to use. Okay, hutang lah credit card. So the bank give you let's say 30,000 or 50,000 credit limit. So belanja lah sampai janganlah sampai habis. So in some cases, these merchants or these business, they are being reimbursed by the company and paid commission. Because sometimes you can see, okay, spend 150 ringgit using public bank credit card and you will get 10% discount. Nampak? So that is the kita partnership by the company and also the bank. So ada limit on the amount to use lah. So untuk credit card, biasa kita ada VPC ni, variable payment cards, available users to make purchases of variable size by limited amount of credit limit. Macam tadi lah, like I said, the credit limit is 50,000 for example. So you can spend not more than 50,000 tu. Dah reach the credit limit, dia dah tak allow untuk belanja dah. Okay, and the fixed one, they allow user to access to 1 month credit by settlement of the balance in a minimum payment. So it can be both. Okay, advantages. Means of obtaining credit. Alamak tak cukup duit nak beli tu, then you use credit card. Ataupun alamak tak bawa cash, then use credit card. Interest free for credit for a week to 4 weeks dalam masa sebulan tu, if you do purchases in the first kita kata awal bulan, before the due date tu, if you settle everything, you will not be charged any interest. Tapi yang jadi interest banyak, yang jadi hutang banyak ni because you belanja, let's say that particular month you spend 500 ringgit. Tapi you bayar 50 ringgit. 450 dia bawa ke bulan depan. Bawa bulan depan not bawa 450 je, bawa bulan depan plus interest. Let's say 450. Tapi bulan depan of course belanja lagi kan. Nampak ada konsep dia bawa 450 ke bulan depan. Bulan depan belanja lagi 500 ringgit. Dah jadi 950. Kan? 950 tu end of the month you bayar lagi 50 ringgit je. Ada lagi 900 dalam tu. Bawa lagi ke bulan depan. Interest jalan Interest compound daripada mula yang tadi 400.5 tu. Plus interest, plus interest, plus interest. 900. Belanja lagi pula. Musim-musim hujung tahun ni kan. Belanja lagi pula. 500 lagi. Dah jadi 1,400. Bayar 50 ringgit. You still bayar 50 ringgit setiap bulan. Walaupun belanja macam-macam. So 1,400 bayar 50 ringgit. Bawa lagi baik baki tu carry forward lagi. So can you imagine from January katakan, sampai December you tak buat full settlement ataupun you tak bayar according to whatever you spend, interest tu akan jadi sangat banyak nanti. That is why research has done that I think few years ago kot, saya tak ingat the detail bankruptcy among the young generation ni is actually because of credit card debt, hutang credit card. Can you imagine you get 50,000 tapi you belanja you tak bayar. Sampailah you reach the credit limit 50,000 balance 50,000 tak bayar tu. Then tak ada duit nak bayar lah sebab hutang terus jadi 50,000 kan. And then not only one card. Banyak bank boleh bagi the credit card because you can go anywhere. Kadang-kadang booth dekat shopping mall pun ada. You dah ada credit card Maybank, ada credit card CIMB, ada credit card HSBC, ada credit card Citibank. Ada 4. Kalau setiap satu bagi 50,000, tak ke 200,000. Nampak tak the risk. The risk tu, tapi if you can manage because it is easier to use. And you can even withdraw cash. With your credit card tu, boleh withdraw cash juga daripada ATM. Because dia ialah means to obtain credit. Convenient. Convenient provided that belanja pun berhemah lah. Disadvantages. Annual charge is payable. Ada annual fee Joining fees pun sometimes ada kena bayar. And interest on unpaid balance is high. Yang ni selalu small print. Jangan tak perasan orang nampak. Kita ada credit card kan. It's actually hutang. Jangan pula kata macam tak nak pakai credit card. Hutang semua tu. Yes, it is a hutang but it is convenient for you sometimes. But bila dah guna tu, make sure that you have the means to pay back lah. Janganlah sampai jadi 10,000 hutang And okay, another type of services provided by this card ataupun tak tahu kenapa dia duduk seorang kat sini standing order and standing instructions. This is actually for internet banking tadi ni. For example, when you use internet banking, you can include the standing instructions, and we call it standing instructions. Let's say to pay your personal loan contohnya. You ada Maybank to you want to pay personal loan to Maybank, then you can set standing instructions. Katakanlah setiap 20 hari bulan kena bayar 350. You set lah, katakan kena nak set untuk 2 tahun, 24 bulan So set every 20 hari bulan, dia akan tolak 350 from your account automatically. Sebab tu nama dia standing instruction. Kita key in je dekat situ recurrence every 20 hari bulan, end date dia bila. Katakan end date dia 20 hari bulan 12, 20, 23 katakan. So dia stop lah. This is the last payment. Lepas tu kalau let's say hutang you nak sambung lagi, buat lagi sekali DSI ni. Boleh buat through internet banking je. Okay. Hire purchase. Hire purchase, I think this is the services provided other banking. This is other banking products ni. Macam mana boleh tertinggal seorang-seorang dekat sini. Products Ada telegraphic transfer juga. Ada products and also services lah kita kata kat sini Ada hire purchase. Okay, hire purchase ni untuk especially for purchase of, macam kita tengok sebelum ni the products especially for purchase of motor vehicles, equipments So it is a credit arrangement. Ni pun ada contoh dia bagi hari tu contohnya nak beli kereta daripada Proton. So this is the customer customer nak kereta daripada Proton. Kita pergi ke dealer. This is called the dealer So ada 3 parti dekat sini. Untuk HP ni kita ada customer or the hirer kita lah. We have the bank or the financial, and we also have the dealer. So in this case, katakan Proton is the dealer, you go to Proton to buy a car. Dia kira-kira lah okay, berapa banyak loan you boleh ambil apa semua. So the agent ataupun the dealer ni akan tolong kira Tolong kira dan tolong cari bank mana yang boleh bagi financing yang paling bagus. So dealer ni buatkan. So bila dealer ni dah dapat bank, dah dapat financial, the customer akan sign agreement dengan bank. Bukan dengan Proton ni dia akan sign dengan bank. Bila sign dengan bank, maksudnya dekat sini, kereta yang kita beli tu, bank bayar pada Proton. Okay, bank bayar pada Proton. Dan end of the day, Proton ni kira settle lah. Sebab dia jual kita dekat customer, bank dah bayarkan pada dia, so kita dah settle dengan dia. Sekarang urusan is with the customer and the bank. the customer or the hirer and the bank, the financier. So dia bagi kita maknanya the agreement is that you have to pay to the bank lah whatever amount that you owe to beli kereta tu kan. So dengan dealer ni dah habis lah because bank dah bayar dekat dealer dulu, so kita bayar dekat bank. Dia bayar dulu, kita bayar balik dekat dia. So that is the concept of hire purchase. Maksud hire purchase ni ialah every month kita bayar dekat bank. Maknanya dia kira hirer, kita ialah hirer. Kita sewa. Kita bayar every month sampai let's say you buat hutang sampai 6 tahun. Cukup 6 tahun sebab tu nama dia hire purchase. Dia belikan tapi dia sewakan pada kita. Konsepnya is bank belikan kereta, dia sewa pada kita. So kita bayarlah every month the harga sewaan tu. The agreement says sewaan. So kita bayar pada harga sewaan. Cukup 6 tahun, kereta tu jadi hak kita. So konsep hire purchase. Kita sewa, beli. Dia beli tapi bank belikan, kita sewa daripada bank. Sampai cukup tempoh baru dapat dekat kita sebagai aset kita lah. Tapi by the time you dapat, you dah habis bayar tu, kereta pun dah buruk kan. Dah kena jual balik or kena cari kereta lain pula. Right, so that is the concept of hire purchase. Boleh faham Any question tak? Tak ada soalan You all ada ke tak ni? Saya tanya tak jawab pun ni.
So far tak ada, doktor.
Okay. Right. Next, let's move on to Islamic Banking. Okay, sikit je Islamic Banking ni before we move on to the presentation tu. Alright, so far apa yang kita dah tengok tadi all the banking products and services is actually goes to both conventional and also Islamic banks. Sama je, jangan kata conventional bank dia ada credit card, conventional bank dia ada hire purchase, conventional bank dia ada internet banking, tak. Semua ada. And then you don't even notice pun that whatever product that you have tu, Islamic ke conventional pun sometimes you don't know Nah, sebabnya contoh if your savings account tu kat belakang ada I, Islamic itu ialah Islamic accounts. Kalau tak ada I kat belakang tu, itu conventional. Even for the hire purchase, nanti kita dengar kawan-kawan nak explain kan about the contracts kan, right? So for contoh macam savings account, kalau tadi kita tengok conventional banks, they have the savings account. Islamic Bank pun ada saving account tapi dia tak pakai konsep savings tu dia guna term al-wadi'ah, wadi'ah safekeeping untuk deposit Alright, so first of all, let's look at what is Islamic banking. Okay, untuk yang ni I actually I think we already discussed a bit on Islamic banking ni masa topik kita awal-awal dulu So it is actually a banking activity based on Sharia principles and not allowing payment and receiving interest, and they promote profit sharing and it operates in accordance with fiqh muamalat, okay, Islamic rules on business transaction. So whereby the basic principles are satu, dikira sharing of profit and loss. Share. Prohibition of riba. Tak boleh ada interest. For example, kalau save money dekat conventional bank, nanti dalam statement tu dalam saving account statement tu, dia akan calculate lah. Let's say you simpan duit adalah end balance you ada 5,000 contohnya. Dia akan letak plus interest. You dapat interest based on your savings. Tapi kalau Islamic account, dia tak ada perkataan interest, dia pakai hibah. This is for savings account only So the concept is different. Sebab dia kira sebagai profit sharing So dia tak ada riba, dia biasanya gunakan the term hibah untuk savings tu. Alright, so some of the Sharia concept in Islamic bank. Okay, so kita ada wadiah, mudarabah, musyarakah, murabaha, babi taman ajil, wakalah, qad hasan. Ijara, by Inah, hibah. Okay. And then Islamic banking products. So as you can see, it is similar to apa yang kita tengok tadi. Tadi tu for conventional banks. But here the product sama je dengan yang conventional bank tadi. So Islamic bank pun ada deposits, ada investment, ada financing. Nampak? Dia tak guna the word loan, dia guna word financing. Dia ada juga trade finance macam tadi. Dia ada money market juga kan. Kita dah belajar MGS apa semua tu. Ada yang I kan. I is for Islamic. Dia pun ada kad sebit. Dia ada credit card. Dia ada debit card. Islamic bank pun ada kan. But the principles is different. Application of the concept and product and services. Okay, so yang ni nanti later bila you present, I expect to see some of the maybe examples ataupun how do banks actually apply the concept or apply the contract in their products and also services. So for example, deposit taking product, current and saving deposit under Al-Wadi'ah, guaranteed custody. Dia tolong simpankan duit kita. Safekeeping kan, dia tolong simpan. And then investment deposits ada juga under Al-Murabaha, which is profit sharing. Financing facilities ada juga. Macam tadi saya cerita hire purchase tadi kan, kita ada hirer, kita ada financial, kita ada agent. Sama je konsep dia. It just that dia pakai sama ada Murabaha cost plus ataupun lease lah, Al-Ijarah. Kalau beli kereta, biasanya pakai Ijarah lah. And house financing under by Bitama Ajil ni. Ataupun project financing under Al-Musharraka. Musharraka, profit loss sharing. Dia macam Al-Musharraka is like partnership And then, okay, this is the basics lah for Islamic Bank ni. BIMB lah paling, the first one in Malaysia is Bank Islam established in July 1983. Carry out banking business sama dengan conventional tapi based on syariah. But after that kita ada certain bank dia ada syariah window dia sendiri Ada certain bank memang dia bank ikut Islamic scheme lah. Okay. So this is the definition. Spread application of an interest-free banking concept with Islamic economic doctrines. So these are the Islamic banking, the liability product, and this is the sources of funds for Islamic bank. Sama je because for your assignment, saya minta you all cari semua the conventional bank bukan Islamic banks. So here what we have here is liability products, sources of funds dia, saving and current account. This is the deposit dia lah, dia pakai wadiah. And the GIA, General Investment Account, menggunakan Al-Mudarabah Principle. Islamic Banking, the assets product. Okay, ini again about the project financing. We have Mudarabah Musharraka Principle, asset acquisition, financing the use of services, Ijara, and also financing the use of services and subsequent asset acquisition, ITAP ni. Trade finance and guarantees, sama macam conventional bank tadi they also have letter of credit but using the Islamic principles. Okay, guarantees pun ada under kafalah principle. Sama lah tapi lain, the principle ni lain And all banking services except those involving lending and borrowing money can be provided by Islamic bank with commissions fee charged. So that is why I explained to you earlier, they call it financing, they don't call it a loan because loan is actually based on interest, so they don't have loans. So loans and other lending, digunakan equity participation whereby bank will purchase the asset and resell. Okay, the concept is kita bukan hutang dengan dia tapi dia beli dan dia jual balik pada kita. So for deposit, Islamic bank give a share of the profits generated. Dalam bentuk some bank they use the term hibah. Alright, that's all for commercial banking. Any questions tak?
No, Doktor.
Boleh nanti boleh baca je
Nah, Doktor.
More like a reading lah kita cerita about the products, the services, the risk of conventional banks. Panjang tapi for me I think this is an easy topic lah for you to understand. Okay, so if you have no questions, I give 2-3 minutes for you to prepare. Kita akan mulakan dengan the list that I have ni Kita semua dah ready kan? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ada berapa kumpulan 12 semua. Okay, can we start with Murabah sebab saya tengok dalam ni you all tak ada yang buat musyarakah Saya guna list daripada WhatsApp group hari tu je just to confirm balik betul ke tak list ni. Murabah ada Aida dengan Ain, betul
Betul, Doktor.
Okay, Diminishing Musharraka Amira Arina.
Betul, Doktor.
Okay, Murabaha Farah Najwa Zuhailah.
Betul, Doktor.
Okay, Baibi Taman Ajil Adam Zu Aiman. Laki-laki dah potong kek-kek dah tu. Istisna tak ada. By Salam Fatin Jiha Khaira. Betul Okay, Ijarah Tasha Zati.
Ya, Doktor.
Okay, tak ada. Tawaruk Izzati Faliana Kuratu.
Ya, Doktor.
Okay, Rohnu Ainina Aini Atikah.
Betul, Doktor.
Okay, Wakalah Diba Rina Zati.
Ya, Doktor.
Okay, Wadiah Lalu Syami Hafiz.
Ya, Doktor.
Alright, and last one Kafalah Rizman, Afif dengan Saiful.
Ya, Doktor.
Alright, so can we start with Mudarabah dulu? I stop sharing Please do not go beyond 5 minutes Kita just nak tengok the difference ataupun the application of these different Islamic ataupun kita kata Islamic contracts lah. Mudarabah.
Diba, present Murabah.
Berapa banyak buat ni? Mudarabah ke wakalah ni? Ni siapa tukar present ni? Okay, Mudarabah, yes. Oh, Diba tolong present Tolong present kan?
Diba tolong present. Okay,
Okay,
so
alright.
Assalamualaikum and good morning to Doctor and my fellow friends. So the topic that Rohaida and I choose is Murabah. Okay, so basically Murabah is a contract between a capital provider which is Rabbul Mal and an entrepreneur which is Mudarib, under which the Rabbul Mal provides capital to be managed by the Mudarib. Any profit generated from the capital is shared between the Rabbul Mal and the Mudarib according to a mutually agreed profit sharing ratio. While financial losses are borne by the Rabbul Mal provided that such losses are not due to the Mudarib's misconduct, ta'adi, negligence, taksir or breach of the specified terms Mukhalafah al-Shurut. Okay, so the mechanism applied in Mudarabah is participation principles. Participation principles is a mechanism that is based on profit and loss sharing whereby the banks and customers become a partner in business rather than become a creditor. Profit will be shared equally according to the pre-agreed ratio, while loss will be shared by the capital provider and entrepreneur according to the percentage of capital contribution. Under a Mudarabah contract, a bank provides the capital needed for a project, while the entrepreneur offers labor and expertise. The profits and losses from the project are shared between the bank and the entrepreneur at a fixed ratio. Financial losses are assumed entirely by the bank. The liability of entrepreneurs is limited to their time and effort. In cases of proven mismanagement by entrepreneurs, however, they may be held responsible for the financial losses. A partner will provide capital which is Rabbul Mal, and the other partner will be responsible for management which is Mudarib. Profits generated from the investment are shared according to the agreed ratio. Okay, next I will pass to Rohaida.
Okay, there are two types of Mudarabah. which is Murabah al-Mutlaqah and Murabah al-Muqayyadah. Murabah al-Mutlaqah is an unrestricted mudarabah. It is a contract in which the Rabbul Mal permits the mudarib to manage the mudarabah capital without any specific restriction. Okay, meanwhile, Mudarabah al-Muqayyadah is a restricted mudarabah. It is a contract in which the Rabbul Mal imposes specific restrictions on the mudarabah terms. Okay, so we choose M-Bank as an example for mudarabah. Mudarabah term investment account allows M-Bank Islamic customers to place their monies under the Mudarabah, which is profit sharing contract, to be invested in the bank's mortgage financing portfolio. If any returns generated from the investment will be distributed upon maturity in accordance to the pre-agreed profit sharing ratio. Okay, to assist the customer in making an investment decision, the past 5 years performance of the mortgage financing portfolio will be made available via the product disclosure sheet. And the customer may review the outlook of their investment by referring to the fund performance report, which shall be made available via the bank's website on a quarterly basis. That's all from our group. Thank you.
Okay, alright. Apa ni group Mudarabah, so you got that from M-Bank. Alright, next can we have Diminishing Musharraka? Amira, Arina.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Amira Alifa binti Badrul Syam and my partner for our presentation for today is Nur Arina Dalila binti Azaman. We are going to present about diminishing musharraka. Okay, first I'm going to present about the definition of diminishing musharraka. Musharraka mutanakisa literally means diminishing partnership. Musharraka mutanakisa is an Islamic contract with a combination of two words, namely musharraka and mutanakisa. The word musharraka is derived from the word sharaka, which means join or partnership, whereas the word mutanakisa is derived from the word nakasa, which means reduce, decrease, or diminish. And it consists of three contracts, which are musharaka, ijara, and buy. Okay, the technical definition is accounting and auditing organization for Islamic financial institution defines that the diminishing musharaka as a partnership in which one of the partners promise to buy the whole equity share gradually until the title of the equity is completely transferred to him. Diminishing musharaka contract is executed in three stages, which are the first stage, the customer identifies the asset and enters into a musharaka contract with the bank to co-own the asset under the concept of syirkat awmed, which is joint ownership, and the percentage of ownership will be decided according to the amount of initial contribution. The next stage, bank leases the asset to the customer under Ijara contract, and the last stage, the customer gradually buys back the asset shares of the bank based on pre-agreed tenure repayment, and therefore the customer's asset share ratio will increase after every rental payment plus with the redemption until the asset is fully owned by the customer. Okay, the mechanism of diminishing musharaka is earlier.
Alright, thank you, Mira. So can you hear my voice, Doctor? Okay, so next I will continue my part, which is mechanism of diminishing musharaka. So first of all, the home buyer and bank will jointly acquire and own property, and then the bank will lease its share of property to the home buyer on the basis of ijara. Next, the home buyer as an owner tenant will promise to acquire periodically the bank share of property. The home buyer will pay the rental to the bank under the ijara, which is partially contributes towards increasing home buyer share in property. Next, risk and cost of ownership to be shared is equally between the home buyer and the bank. At the end of ijara or lease term and upon payment at all ijara or lease rental, the customer will have acquired all of the bank share and partnership will cease. And last but not least is the customer will become the sole owner of the house. So next, as you guys can see, this is the diagram of the mechanism of diminishing of Musharraka. The bank will list its 90% of share of property to the customer, and the customer will pay rent for usage of bank 90% share of property, and the customer also will gradually buy the share of property from the bank. Next, Amira will continue present the example of diminishing musharaka for the Exim Bank.
Okay, one of example that use Musharraka Mutanafisah term financing I is Exim Bank. Okay, the type of facility is named Musharraka Mutanafisah term financing I. The bank's commitment margin of financing is up to 90%, and the financing amount for the bank is minimum 100,000 ringgit and maximum up to 150 ringgit. The financing tenure up to maximum 20 years. And the benefit of this term financing is competitive pricing rate and margin of financing, flexible payment period, asset refurbishment, globally accepted Sharia concept use, low late payment charge, and no processing fee. And the eligibility for this term financing I is sole proprietor, partnership, limited liability partnership, and lastly is private limited company. And next example, Arina.
Alright, for the next example is in the case for Maybank. The product is Islamic house financing product. Okay, so this is the example of Maybank. For example, a customer who wants to buy a real property applies for financing from the Islamic financial institution. The Islamic financial institution and the customer will jointly purchase the real property based on the determined share, which is 90-10, which is 90% from the Islamic financial institution and the 10% from the customer, depending on the amount of financing request. The deposit paid by the customer is deemed as his initial share of ownership. The Islamic financial institution share of ownership will be leased based on the Ijara to the customer. And the monthly installment by the customer will be used as gradually purchase the share of the Islamic financial institution until the entire share of the Islamic financial institution is fully purchased by the customer. So in this regard, the Sharia Advisory Council, which is SAC, was referred to on the following issue, which is first, whether the collective usage of Musharraka and Ijara agreements in one document of Musharraka Mutanafisah is allowed since such collective usage may be perceived as having two transactions in one sale and purchase contract, which is buy atau al-bai'ah, which is prohibited in Sharia. And the second, whether a pledge may be imposed by one of the owners of the asset over the jointly owned asset. So further resolution is the collective usage of contract of Musharraka and Ijara in one document of agreement is permissible as long as both of the contract are concluded separately and clearly. And the second one is a pledge in Musharraka Mutanafisah or diminishing Musharraka may be imposed if the pledge document involves only the customer share being pledged to the Islamic financial institution. And this is because the beneficial ownership is recognized by the Sharia. Alright, so that's all from our group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, thank you. So for diminishing musyarakah ni, the term diminishing tu like our friend presented earlier. So bila customer tu bayar deposit tu, dia macam ada share lah dalam house tu. For example tadi bayar 10% kan, so bank bayar 90%. Tapi every month the customer akan bayar balik lah the bank share tu. That is why end of the day bila cukup 100% dia bayar, rumah tu jadi dia punya. Sebab tu kita kata diminishing tu. So daripada awal dia own 10% je of the share, dia bayar, dia ambil balik the portion from the bank tu. So end of the day, habis dia the term, 100% jadi belongs to the customer lah. So sebab tu term dia pakai tu diminishing, musyarakah mutanakisah tu, diminishing musyarakah. Alright, thank you. Next would be Murabaha. Tapi musyarakah tadi terlama sikit, so please keep to your time.
Okay,
so can you hear me, Doctor? Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning to Doctor and my fellow friends. Today, Farah and I will present about Murabaha. So, first definition of Murabaha from literal side is from Arib, which means increase in capital or profit of trading. From technical side, sale in which the markup is disclosed to the purchaser as per the seller purchase price for a trust sale for a certain specific asset. Next, mechanism of Murabaha. The mechanism of Murabaha is that upon your request, the bank purchase a commodity as per your requirement and sell to you at cost plus profit basis. Therefore, the bank, rather than advising money to you, buys the goods from third party and sell them to you on profit. Next, pillars of Murabaha. First, we have seller, second, buyer, third, merchandise of good, fourth, price, and last one, sigha, which is offer and acceptance. Next element of Murabaha. First, we have product and selling price. Product must be clearly defined, including its types, quantity, and other description, while the selling price, where its cost and profit must also be disclosed clearly and truthfully. Second, we have contracting parties, which is seller and buyer. Both parties must be adult, rational, intelligent, and can be held accountable. Third, we have offer and acceptance. It shall contain the two important elements, which is cost, price, and rate of profit. Fourth, no riba trading shall be involved, where product trade cannot be paid by barter system from ribawi items prohibited by the Prophet SAW. And the last one, the initial contract must be valid, which is the trade item or property must be lawfully owned by the seller according to Sharia requirement. So next, we can see the flow of Murabaha, where customer will approach Islamic Bank to pay on behalf of him, and the supplier of good will sell the asset to the bank on purchase price. The bank then sell the asset to customer on purchase price plus markup price, which is the extra premium, and the customer will pay the bank on deferred payment. So for the fourth stage of Murabaha, I will pass to the Para Najwa.
Zuhaila. Okay,
Boleh
now we
besar sikit tak you all punya poster ni? Okay.
now we will look into details the four stages of Murabaha. Stage 1, promise. The client will approach the bank for facility through Murabaha. The clients and the bank will sell an agreement. Then the client will submit the purchase requisition to the bank. Stage 2, agency. The client approach the bank for facility through Murabaha. The client is appointed as an agent to purchase goods on the bank's behalf. Then the bank deposit money into the client's account for the purchase of the goods. Stage 3, acquiring possession. The client purchase goods on the bank's behalf and take their possession. Stage 4, execution. The client makes an offer to purchase the goods from the bank. The bank will accept the offer and the sale is concluded. And finally, the client pays the agreed price to the bank according to an agreed schedule, usually on a deferred payment basis. Example of Islamic banking that applied Murabaha is Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad. One of their Murabaha product is Murabaha Working Capital Financing I, MWCFI. MWCFI is a facility granted to Bank Muamalat client to finance their purchase of trading goods, which include raw materials, semi-finished, which include cost plus profit with the client. Murabaha is a cost plus profit sale contract. It is a facility granted to customers for financing their short-term working capital requirement by way of lump sum deferred payment cost plus profit. There are some features of Murabaha. Murabaha is not a loan given on interest. It is the sale of a commodity for a deferred price, which include an agreed profit added to the cost, being a sale and not a loan. The Murabaha should fulfill all the conditions necessary for a valid sale, especially those enumerated earlier in this contract. The financier must have owned the commodity before he sells it to his client. The commodity must come into the possession of the financier, whether physical or constructive. The sense that the commodity must be in his risk, though for a short period. That's all from us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, can we have Ibu Taman Ajil?
You hear my...
Boleh.
Boleh? Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Dr. Azianti dan my fellow friends. Today we're going to talk about by Bitman Ajil, which presented by us. Me, myself is Adam, Zuaziman and Amira Aiman. First, we're going to look at literal and technical definition. Literally, by Bitman Ajil means deferred sales payment. PBA is a sale contract in which the payment of the price is deferred and payable at in particular time in the future. For your information, in the Middle East, a similar practice is used under the term Murabaha. However, in Malaysia, both terms refer to two different products. Next, I'll pass to Aiman.
Adam, sorry to interrupt. Can you make it bigger?
Bigger.
Quite
Alright.
small.
Nice.
Because of the color tu. Alright, okay.
Okay. Next, I will present about nature of buy vitamin AG. So it is used by customer to purchase asset of substantial value in installment from which they can generate future cash flow. In this agreement, the customer gets the asset and it is required to make payment as per the agreed tenor in installment. The customer purchasing the asset is required to pay the profit to the financial institution that owns the asset. So there are 5 pillars of buy Bitaman HG, which is seller, buyer, asset price, asset, and SIHA. Okay, next I will pass to Zuaziman.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yep, okay, dengar.
Alright, thank you. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we presented the example which bank that still use this method lah, which is buy vitamin Ajil. Okay, we can take Bank Islam as an example because the predominant concept for Islamic home financing currently in Malaysia is by vitamin Ajil, right? It has been practiced by almost all financial institutions in this country since it was implemented by Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad in 1983. The BBA, which is by vitamin Ajil, is a deferred installment sale whereby bank capitalize its profit upfront in the sale of the property to the customer, who in turn is required to pay a fixed sum until the tenure ends. Home financing is the most popular finance facility granted under the concept of BBA, either to purchase existing complete houses, building, or construct new house on customers' land, even as refinancing facility. Okay, let's take a look at the objective of BBA. The objective of BBA, the first one is to provide financing for potential buyers who could not afford to pay cash in advance and enable them to perform daily responsibilities and obligations without any financial hardship or difficulties. And then the second objective of DBA is to facilitate and support the smooth flow of transaction in the business society and providing flexible modes of payment, especially through credit payment. And I think that's all from us. Thank you.
Alright, thank you. So BBA ni kalau ikutkan you all bagi example pun untuk housing. Alright, next by Salam. Besar sikit lagi boleh? Then you can start. Alright, okay. Dah cakap ke? Tak ada dengar apa-apa?
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Can you all hear me? Hello?
Dengar,
Doctor, can
dengar.
you hear,
dengar.
can you hear me?
Ya,
Okay.
ya, dengar.
Alright. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a good morning, a very good morning to Dr. Hazanti and all my fellow classmates. Today we're going to present about Bai Salam. So group members of our group are Nurul Najiha binti Razali, Fatimah binti Abu Bakar, and me Khairatul Naimah binti Ahmad. So we're gonna go through about literal and technical definition. Literally, salam or salaf means prepayment. And for salam, technically it is a sale whereby the seller undertakes to supply some specific goods to the buyer at a future date in exchange for an advance price fully paid on the spot. Next, about importance of Bai'an Salam. There are two important of Bai'an Salam. First one, contribute to the economy well-being as it removes the liquidity shortage on one party and solve the requirement of a buyer once the asset or commodity is delivered. And the second one is allow for the future delivery of an asset or commodity at the lower cost. Next, Bai'an Salam as mechanism in Islamic bank in Malaysia. Bai'an Salam, as we know, it is a main role in the Islamic banking system, especially when the major parts of goods in a commercial transaction in of agriculture sector. So we go to the next, Salam financing. To reduce risk attached to Salam financing, AB, which is Agrobank, has agreed to experiment on one project with Bernas. So the example is Agrobank has engaged Bernas as a government-owned rice wholesaler as a third-party buyer. Bernas is aligned with BPM price. In this way, BPM will find it relatively easier to dispose the supply upon delivery. Rice is price of rice cannot fall below 560 ringgit. In this manner, BPM do not have to worry about falling prices upon receiving delivery. And government regulation on rice production and wholesaling has removed the price risk attached to the Salam facility. In this manner, the application of Salam financing in rice farming has a bright future. And they have six processes of Bai'an Salam. So the first one, submission of application form with necessary document. The second, the bank will offer a purchase price to the farmer. The third, the farmer accept the offer and sign a buy on salam contract. Fourth, the bank pays the settlement price. Fifth, the farmer deliver the crop to the bank. And the last one, the bank sells the crop or subject matter in the market at the selling price. I think that all from our group. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Ijarah. After Ijarah, Tawarruk. Mana Tasha dengan Izzati?
Boleh nampak ke?
Boleh. Besar sikit lah kot.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nur Natasha binti Zakaria and my partner is Nur Izzati binti Ishaq. Today we are going to present about Ijara. Literal definition of Ijara is the term Ijara originates in the Arabic verb ajara, which denotes rewarding or recompensing. Ijara is derived from the noun al-ajr, which means compensation, reward, consideration, return or counter value, al-iwad, against the use of an object. From a juristic definition, Ijara refers to a contract to utilize a lawful benefit against a consideration. Okay, for technical definition, Ijara refers to a lease contract that transfers the ownership of a usufruct of an asset to another person for a specified period in exchange for a specified consideration, or a contract for hiring of services of a person for a specified period in exchange for a specified consideration. Ijara in Islamic banking is a customer can use an asset or equipment which is owned by an Islamic bank for a fixed period against a fixed price. Ijara is very similar to a leasing contract, and the asset under Ijara contract could be a car, home, plant, or a machinery. Next, I will pass to Izzati.
Okay, so thank you, Natasha. I'm going to explain about mechanism of Ijara in Islamic banks. Here are the figures shown. So from the figure, you can see that the customer visit the Islamic bank and applies for a leasing facility. Second, the Islamic bank purchases the asset from the supplier and pays the full amount according to their bargaining. The third one, the customer and Islamic bank enter into an Ijara contract in which they agree on terms and conditions of Ijara and specify the period of lease and rental amount. Fourth, during the period of lease, the title of ownership remains with the lessor and the lessee has the right to use the assets. The fifth one, in a normal lease, the asset is returned to the lessor at the time of completion of lease period. And the last one, in the case of Ijara Muntahiyah Bitamlik, the ownership title of the asset is transferred to the lessor either through sale or gift. And the last one, the example we choose is mechanism Ijara in Maybank Islami. Ijara term financing Islami is based on the Sharia contract of Ijara Mutahiyah bi al-Tamlik, leasing ending with ownership. Under this contract, the customer will sell the beneficial interest of the assets or properties to the bank, and the bank will pay the customer the purchase price, which is equivalent to the financing amount. The bank will then lease the Ijara asset or properties to customer at an agreed rental amount for a specific tenure. Upon expiry of the leasing period, the bank will sell the asset to the customer at a price agreed by both parties. So the elements of Ijara Muntahiyah bi Al-Tamlik in Bank Islami is first one, lessor. The bank, lessor, is the beneficial owner of the asset or property who grant the lease. The second one is lessor, the customer, lessor who leases the asset or property from the bank. And the last one, subject matter of the lease. The lease, ijara, asset or property, and the lease payment, rental, is the agreed rental over a specified leasing period and the usage of the benefit, usufruct. I think that's all from us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So Ijara is leasing. Next would be Tawaruk.
Doctor, actually we are presenting slide. Is it okay, Doctor? But I promise it won't be long. Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Dr. Hazianti and all my friends. Today our group will be presenting Tawaruk. Okay. The definition of Tawaruk. Tawaruk is a financing arrangement where customer will be receiving cash at the end of it for his needs through the series of sales transaction. This transaction is nowadays being used by many Islamic banks for liquidity management as a mode of financing, especially for personal financing and credit card. Tawaruk will be done by the bank. It will purchase commodities from a supplier, first sale, and sells them to customer, which is second sale, and then the customer will sell the commodities to different supplier to get the required cash rate, which is third sale. And then the Tawaruk pillars, we have 5 Tawaruk pillars, which is seller, final buyer, mutawarik, goods, and sigoh, which is ijab kabul. And then types of Tawaruk. We have 2 types of Tawaruk, which is the first one is Tawaruk al-Fardi and Tawaruk al-Munazam. For Tawaruk al-Fardi, it is individual Tawaruk, which is the original seller does not play any role in the resale of the commodity and has no relation with the final buyer. The cash will be taken by the mutawarik directly from the final buyer without the seller being involved. And then the original seller has no information or relation with the final buyer, and it is accepted by most jurists and Majma al-Fiqh al-Islami. While for Tawaruk al-Munazam, it is actually an organized Tawaruk. The original seller acts as the intermediary by selling the commodity for cash on behalf of the mutawarik. The mutawarik involves the cash from the original seller to the whom he owes the delayed price. The original seller might agree beforehand with the final buyer that he will purchase the commodity and rejected by majority, and Tawaruk al-Munazam is being rejected by majority of jurists but accepted to be practiced by current fiqh scholars and IFI and Sharia Advisory Council. Next, I will pass to next presenter, which is Qurratu Ain, to be explaining the conditions of Tawaruk. Thank you.
So there are 6 conditions of Tawaruk, which is ownership of the commodities. Commodity is specified. Possession of commodities, avoiding enough sales. Next. Details of the time of payments, avoided usually, and delivery is immediate. Next, on application of Tawaruk. Next. Okay. Mechanism in Tawaruk financing. I take example of CIMB Bank. First step, CIMB will purchase commodity from trade A, such as metals, gold or silver on cash. Second step, trade A will transfer commodity ownership to CIMB Bank. Then the bank will sell commodity on deferred price to the counterparty. Then they will transfer commodity ownership to the CIMB Bank. Next, trade B will sell the commodity on cash to the counterparty. And lastly, they will transfer ownership to the trade B. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tawaruk. Next would be Rohnu. Lepas tu kita ada wakalah, wadiah. Then last one would be kafalah.
Okay, Assalamualaikum Dr. Hazianti and my friend. My name is Hazatul Aini binti Sariman and my group member is Ainina Suhana and Atika Rabai. Today we will presenting about Arahnu or in Malay pajak gadai Islam. So what is Arahnu? Literally, Rahnu refers to a contract where a party as pledger, Rahin, pledges an asset and as collateral marhun to another party, a pledgee murtahin to fulfill an obligous liability or obligation marhun bih owing to the pledgee in the event of default of such obligor. Technical, arahnu or mortgage or collateral is defined in the Islamic jurisprudence as possession offered as security for a debt so that the debt will be taken from it in case the debtor fail to pay back the due money. So the Arahnu system uses various Islamic concepts such as benevolent loan, al-qard al-hasan. This is a loan agreement between the person taking the loan and the person giving the loan. The loaner is forbidden from taking back more than the value of the loan. But the borrowers are encouraged to give a small consideration as a sign of appreciation. Next is safekeeping fee or al-ujrah. The loaner is allowed to charge a commission for safeguarding items submitted and keeping the items in good condition. And assured, guaranteed, storage al-wadiyah yad damanah. The loaner is required to replace any items that are missing or stolen if the loaner defaults on the agreement, based on Al-Zuhaili, 2014, Abdul Mu'min, 1999. Next is the example of Rahnu in modern application. Rahnu in the contemporary application may take either a form paper such as property document, vehicle papers, sukuk, shed, or objects like ornament, jewelry, and other valuables. For example, tools used to test gold type, the scale gives accurate weight, and testing the density of gold to determine actual value. For extra information, in Malaysia, Rahnu is conducted by Bank Rakyat and Yayasan Pembangunan Ekonomi Islam Malaysia YAPIM. I think that's all from our group. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is wakalah.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Topic that me, Adiba and Zati choose is wakalah. So basically the word wakalah has literally several meanings including looking after, delegation, authorization, preservation and performing a task on behalf of others. Technically, wakalah refers to a type of contract in which one person, the principal, delegates another person to perform some task on behalf of him. There are two contracting parties in wakalah contract, which is the principal, also known as muwakil, and the agent, also termed as wakil. So I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, I will explain about the type of wakalah. Types of wakalah have two, which is general agency, unrestricted wakalah, and specific agency, which is restricted agency. General agency is it is a general delegation of power. For example, principal asks an agent to buy a 4-bedroom. Meanwhile, specific agency where agent acts within certain condition, for example, buy the house on a certain price and hold in given time. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, I will explain mechanism apply. In Islamic banking practice, The bank always acts as an agent of a company's or individual's behalf. For example, a letter of credit, hire purchase agency, and others. Under a letter of credit, a customer will approach a bank to open letter of credit and then deposit the price of the imported good. Then the bank will pay the negotiating bank and then release the import document with some charge. When the bank acts as an agent in hire purchase, the bank will provide a customer with the asset the customer target to buy. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.
Alright, so wakalah very simple lah, kita nampak it is an agency. Okay, next, Wadia.
Hello, boleh dengar?
Boleh.
Alright. Sekejap. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pada pagi ini saya akan present tentang wadiah. Okay, wadiah. Definition. Saving service is an activity provided by a bank to its customers to conduct transactions with banks selected by customers. Wadiah is one of the Islamic bank's product, which means safekeeping of funds between the owner of the fund and the recipient of the deposit that is trusted to safeguard the funds. In the principle of wadiah, money or funds from customers are only deposited in the bank. The customer's fund must be able to be taken back at any time, and the bank is obliged to provide it. Classically speaking, wadiah is a contract by virtue of which one party keeps an asset with a counterparty for safekeeping purposes for a specific period of time. The counterparty accepts the responsibility of looking after the assets voluntarily and typically does not charge a fee for this service. Okay, next, the mechanism applied will be terangkan oleh kawan saya.
Thank you, Shami. So my name is Ali Ransha. I will explain about mechanism apply. Party A owns an asset and places the asset for safekeeping with Party B. Party B accepts the asset and the responsibility for safekeeping without charging any fee. Party A can ask for the asset back without any condition at any time. The asset kept for safekeeping is referred to as wadiah. There are two basic types of wadiah, which is wadiah yad amanah, refers to property is deposited on the basis of trust, and wadiah yad damanah refer to saving with guarantee or safekeeping. A wadiah contract is a mechanism that allows an individual to entrust his asset to another individual for saving purpose. The bank is deemed as keeper or trustee for the depositor's fund. In general, the customer allow the bank to use the deposit entrusted to the bank, and the bank is responsible to guarantee the deposit. The bank at its own discretion may give hibah to the depositors. The pillars and condition of wadiah. First is people who make covenant, deposit term, sirah, ijab, and kabul. The condition of the person deposited are reasonable, puberty, and malikiyah. The application of wadiah is saving deposit, current deposit, term deposit, and investment deposit. So that's all from us. Thank you for the attention.
Alright, thank you, Wadia. And last but not least, kafalah.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to Dr. Hazianti and my fellow friends. Today, me, myself, Rizman, and my teammate members, Afif and Saiful, will present about kafala. Okay, what is kafala? The term al-kafala comes from Arabic, which means al-daman, guarantee, hamalah, burden, and za'ama, dependency. In terms of muamalah, the meaning of al-kafala is to collect the responsibility of the guarantor with the responsibility guaranteed in the matter of rights or debts, so that the rights or debts become the responsibility of the guarantor. While in technical banking, kafala is a guarantee to customers for their efforts to cooperate with other parties. Okay, next I will pass on to Afif to present about pillars and condition.
Okay, thank you, Rizman. Okay, I will explain the pillars and condition of kafala. Okay, pillars. There are 5 pillars of kafala. First, kafil. Kafil is a guarantor of fund, such as bank. Second is makfulahu. Makfulahu is a person who is guaranteed for the customer, or we can known as a guarantor or third party. Third is a makful anhu. Makful anhu is a nasabah or the guaranteed person. And fourth is makful. Makful is a collateral object or the cost in the form of debts, money, or goods, or it also can be a persons. And last is a sigo. Sigo is an agreement, or we call it as ijab kabul. Okay, the second is a condition. Okay, we can know that from the pillars of kafala, there are several conditions that must be met by each party or each pillar before performing kafala. Some of the conditions that must be met in the activity of kafala as follow. Before that, I want to tell that there are some mistake in the explanation of makful anhu and makful lahu. I'm sorry about that, and we will correct after this. But I will explain the correct explanation orally. Okay, I will start. The first is kafil. Kafil must meet the requirement of puberty, intellect, independence, or freedom in the management of his property. Second, makful anhu. Makful anhu, which is the person who is given security or has receivable the security, must make sure that the person who provide the guarantee, which is the guarantor or makful lahu, know what they guaranteed. Third, makful anhu. Makful lahu. Makful lahu is the guarantor. Is usually not required to willing to be the guarantor, but if willing, it will be better. Thus, the willingness to be the guarantor is not a mandatory condition that determine whether or not the guarantee contract is valid. Second last is the condition of makful, which is debt in the form of goods or money, which is the object of the security, must be known and has been determined. Thus, it will be invalid when the object of the guarantee is unknown and has not been determined beforehand, and as this may be in the form of the gara or deception. Last, the condition of for sigo, which is the contract made by the guarantor must contain the meaning of the guarantee, not be dependent on something, or have no temporary meaning. Okay, that's all from me. I will pass to Saiful.
Right, so for the mechanism, kafala concept is usually practiced by Islamic bank in trade financial sector in two products which are bank guarantee I and shipping guarantee I. So for example, the bank guarantee I product from RHB Islamic Bank. So the diagram illustrates how the customer enter into the contractual agreement with the beneficiary to fulfill the obligation, and customer approach RHB Islamic Bank to request the issuance of Islamic Bank Guarantee or IBG facilities as well. So moreover, RHB Islamic Bank issues IBG to the customers as a surety to discharge the liability of beneficiary in case of customer default. So in return, the sum of amount of fee is charged to the customer. So for instance, in the event of default by the customer, the beneficiary will claim from RHB Islamic Bank. and the bank will make immediate payment on the first demand provided the client meets all the conditions of the. In addition, if there is no default, the beneficiary will return the IBG to the customers, followed by RHB Islamic Bank cancellation upon maturity. That's all from us. Thank you.
Alright, thank you. Siapa tak sihat ke batuk tu? Alright, so kita dah dengar, we have listened to 12 different types of Islamic contracts, and I hope it really helps you understand. So whenever you see the terms, or because this is actually not only applicable for banking transactions, because as you can see, some of the transactions macam takaful, they use quite a similar concept or contracts. But alright, so to wrap our commercial banking topic, so we have covered both conventional and also Islamic contracts and Islamic banking part, especially the Islamic contract. So thank you for a very fruitful presentation lah, so that everybody will understand the meaning of each of the Islamic contracts. And I think that's all for today. And when you come back from your semester break, we will continue with offshore banking topic. And then I have already uploaded the question for your task 2, for your assignment 2. And that can be done and discussed before you go for a break. And the due date is also after the semester break line. So happy holidays to you. 1 week break, but I'm sure ada banyak assignments nak kena buat. So stay safe, everyone. That's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Happy holiday. Happy
Thank you,
holiday.
Doctor.
Happy holiday.
Tak cuti, you all is cuti.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Happy holiday.
Stay safe.
Thank you, Doctor.